When My Heart Spoke. Chapter 1. A Woman Behind Closed Doors. Martha Lewis was 68 years old. She lived in a quiet town in Ohio, in a small house with faded paint and a narrow porch. People who passed her house often said, "She is a good old woman, very quiet, very decent." But no one knew how loud her heart cried at night. Martha had been married when she was only 21. Her parents believed marriage was safety. They believed love would come later. Martha believed them because she had no choice. Her husband, Robert, was not cruel with his hands, but he was cruel with his silence. From the first year of marriage, Martha learned something painful. Her feelings had no place in that house. Robert believed a woman's job was duty: food on time, clothes clean, children disciplined. He never shouted much, but his cold words hurt more than shouting. If she smiled too much, he said, "Life is not a festival." If she cried, he said, "Tears don't solve problems." Once, when she gently said, "I feel lonely," he replied, "You have a roof and food. What more do you want?" That was the day Martha learned to lock her feelings inside. Chapter 2. Years of Giving Without Receiving. Martha gave birth to 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. Each time she hoped motherhood would soften her husband. Each time she was wrong. When her first son was born, she held the baby and said with hope, "Look at him, he needs us." Robert only said, "Raise him well, don't make him weak." There was no joy in his voice. Martha raised the children alone, even when she was married. She cooked, cleaned, taught lessons, dried tears, and kissed wounds. She stayed awake during fevers and stayed silent during arguments. At night, she often whispered to God, "Is this what life is supposed to be?" But she never left. Divorce was shame in those days, and she loved her children too much to break the home. So she stayed, and slowly she disappeared. Chapter 3. A Widow Without Freedom. When Robert died suddenly from a stroke, people came and said, "You are free now." But freedom did not feel sweet. It felt empty. Martha cried, not only because he died, but because he never truly lived with her. She sat alone after the funeral and whispered, "I waited my whole life for love, and now I am too old." Her children stayed for a few days. They arranged papers, spoke about property, and then returned to their busy lives. Soon the house became silent again. Only this time there was no one even to ignore her. Chapter 4. Children with Busy Lives. Martha believed her children would fill the space, but life taught her another lesson. Her eldest son, Brian, called once every 2 weeks. "Mom, I'm busy. Work is crazy." Her second son, Daniel, visited only on holidays. "You're strong, Mom. You'll manage." Her daughter, Emily, loved her but lived far away. "I have my own family now, Mom." Martha understood their words, but her heart still hurt. On her 69th birthday, she lit a candle on a small cupcake and whispered, "Happy birthday to me." No phone rang. She cried quietly and wiped her tears before sleeping. Chapter 5. Standing Alone Again. Money became a problem. Robert had saved little. The children helped sometimes, but not enough. One morning, Martha looked at herself in the mirror and said, "You survived a hard marriage. You can survive this too." She found a part-time job at a local community library, arranging old books and cleaning shelves. Her body hurt, her hands shook, but she felt useful again. Most people ignored her. Some spoke kindly, some spoke harshly. One day, a young woman said, "You're too old to work." Martha smiled and replied softly, "I am too old to beg." That was when she met Henry. Henry was 60, a quiet man who volunteered at the library. He fixed broken shelves and carried heavy boxes. When he saw Martha struggling, he said, "Please let me help." She replied, "I'm fine," but he helped anyway. He didn't talk much at first, he just showed care. One rainy evening he offered her his umbrella. "Please," he said, "I insist." That simple kindness stayed with her all night. Chapter 7. Two Lonely Stories. Slowly they began to talk. Henry had lost his wife 10 years ago. He had no children. His house was full of silence. One afternoon he said, "Loneliness doesn't shout, it just sits beside you." Martha nodded with tears in her eyes. "Yes, and people don't notice." They became friends. They shared tea during breaks. They laughed softly. For the first time in decades, Martha felt seen. Chapter 8. Feelings she tried to deny. One evening, Henry said gently, "You deserve happiness, Martha." She shook her head. "At my age, people will laugh." He replied, "People always laugh. That shouldn't stop life." Those words stayed in her heart. She felt guilty for smiling, afraid of hope, afraid of judgment, but her heart had already chosen. Chapter 9. Truth Before the Children. Martha decided to be honest. She invited her children and said calmly, "There is someone in my life. His name is Henry." The room exploded. Brian said, "This is embarrassing." Daniel said, "What will people say?" Emily cried, "Why do you need this?" Martha listened and then said quietly, "I need this because I am alive." They threatened to leave her. They accused her of forgetting her father. Martha replied with tears, "I never forgot him, but I also never lived." They left angry. That night Martha cried harder than ever before. Chapter 10. Choosing Herself. Henry held her hands and said, "If you walk away from this, you will lose yourself." Martha looked into his eyes and felt something she had never felt before: respect. The next morning she whispered to herself, For the first time, I choose me. She said yes to Henry. Chapter 11. A Quiet Wedding. They married quietly in a small church with only 2 witnesses. No music, no crowd, only truth. Martha wore a simple dress. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. When Henry said, "I choose you," she cried. Chapter 12. Love changes hearts. At first the children stayed away, but neighbors talked. She looks happy. She smiles now. Slowly guilt grew. Emily came first. "I was wrong," she cried. Then Brian, "I feared society more than your pain." Even Daniel came, ashamed. Martha forgave them. Chapter 13. Peace at last. Martha now wakes up beside someone who asks, "Did you sleep well?" She eats meals with laughter. She holds hands without fear. She once said, "I waited my whole life to be loved." Henry replied, "And you were worth waiting for." Ending. Martha's story is not about age. It is about courage. Not about marriage, but about dignity, and proof that love has no deadline.